I've never forgotten that day, even though more than 20 years have passed. It was a bright Easter Sunday morning, white ceremonial robes swaying in the breeze, church bells echoing in the air. Everything felt so pure and sacred to me, a boy of only 8 years old. After Mass, the children were taken to the basement for a short Sunday school session while our parents stayed upstairs chatting in the main hall. As usual, I was fidgety, and after a few minutes, I raised my hand and asked the teacher for permission to use the bathroom. The restroom was deep down a dim hallway. I walked in and closed the door behind me. While washing my hands, I heard a soft scratching noise, like fingernails lightly scraping the door. My heart skipped a beat, but I told myself, it's probably just someone waiting. I opened the door and froze. Standing before me was a man in a dirty, tattered Easter bunny costume. The once white fur had turned grayish, with dark reddish stains on the long, drooping ears. His eyes, visible through the bunny mask, were empty, deep black, expressionless. He didn't say a word at first, just stared at me. Then, in a thin, papery voice, he spoke. "You are the chosen child." I instinctively stepped back. He extended his hand, gently but firmly, and continued. "I have something special to show you. Come on, let the bunny show you." Even with a young mind, I knew something was wrong. But curiosity and fear pulled me along as he led me down the hallway, up the stairs, and back outside to the church parking lot. The sun was still shining brightly, but I felt cold. He guided me around to the side of the lot, where a silver car sat partially hidden behind some bushes. I heard its engine quietly idling. A rising panic began to claw at me when I saw a young girl sitting silently in the back seat. Her eyes were glazed, lifeless. I was about to scream when a loud shout rang out from behind us. "Michael!" I turned. It was Miss Sabrina, our Sunday school teacher. She was running full speed toward us, panic on her face. The man in the bunny suit immediately let go of me and bolted toward the car. He threw himself into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and the car sped off in seconds, leaving a swirl of dust in the sunlight. Miss Sabrina wrapped her arms around me, trembling. "Oh my God, are you okay? Did he hurt you?" I shook my head, still staring at the spot where the car had disappeared. The police arrived shortly after. I told them everything, from the dirty bunny suit to the girl in the car. But the church's security cameras hadn't been working that day. The car had no visible license plates, and the faint tire tracks didn't give the investigators anything useful. During the investigation, they discovered something chilling. A year prior, a child from a parish about 50 miles away had reported a similar encounter with a strange Easter bunny who tried to lure him away. That case was never solved. After that day, the church ramped up security, and the parking lot was fenced off more securely. But I knew what had happened. That man wasn't just some random drifter. He knew the church. He knew where the Sunday school was held. And he knew I'd be alone. Even as an adult, now living in a different city, I still remember the eyes behind that bunny mask, black and empty. Every Easter season, when I see fluffy white bunny dolls in store windows, I think of him and wonder, is he still out there somewhere, hiding behind a harmless disguise, looking for the next chosen child? I never thought an Easter night could leave me with a fear that still lingers to this day. Back then, I was only 16, living in a small town where everything seemed safe and uneventful, until that night. Raz had been my best friend since childhood. His house sat at the edge of town, backed by a thick forest we kids always called Raz's Woods. That Easter, instead of gathering with family like usual, me, Raz, Marcus, and Talia, decided to meet up at Raz's house and play a new game, Easter Manhunt, a mix of egg hunting and hide-and-seek. We thought it'd be more exciting to play at night. And it was, at first. Talia was in charge of hiding the eggs and was also the hunter. The rest of us had to run, hide, and collect eggs scattered around the backyard, which stretched right up to the edge of the woods. We all wore headlamps and used walkie-talkies to make the game feel more official. The game started with laughter and the crunch of dry leaves underfoot. I remember finding 2 eggs and was searching for the third when Marcus's panicked scream came through the walkie-talkie. It wasn't a playful shout. It was sharp, urgent. I ran toward the sound, about 30 meters from the house, near an old tree we used to call Roz's landmark. There, I found Marcus on the ground, gasping for air. His face was pale, and he was clutching his throat. I helped him up as best I could, and he rasped, "Someone grabbed me, not Raz, not one of us." My blood ran cold. We got Marcus back to the yard, where Raz and Talia were already waiting. After a few tense minutes, Marcus was able to speak clearly. He said while searching near the forest edge, he was attacked by a man who came out of the shadows, dirty, disheveled, possibly homeless or on drugs. The man grabbed his throat and pinned him to the ground. He only ran when I got close. Talia was visibly shaken and said she had seen 2 other shadowy figures lurking near the woods earlier but thought it was just someone from town who got lost. Raz stood frozen, speechless. I told them we had to call the police. But Raz shook his head, face pale. "Are you crazy? If my parents find out we were out here playing in the woods at night, I'm dead." I was furious, but in the end, no one made the call. Marcus kept saying the guy wasn't normal. He said the man's hands were ice cold, and his eyes looked hollow, empty. After that night, no one talked about it again. Raz shut down completely. Marcus missed school for a few days. I couldn't sleep. Every night, I saw Marcus being dragged into the dark, arms flailing in panic. A few weeks later, I moved with my mom to another state. Before leaving, I visited Raz's woods one last time. I stood at the forest's edge, staring into the thick blackness where all sound seemed swallowed. Hanging from a high branch, I noticed a torn piece of red cloth swaying in the wind, just like the shirt that man wore that night. I didn't dare go any closer. I don't know what really happened that night. Was it a drifter? A drug addict? Or something worse? But one thing I know for sure, Roz's Woods is not a place to play after dark. Every Easter, I remember that game, something that seemed harmless at first, but left a scar on my memory I'll never forget. Every year during Easter, my family gathers at Uncle John's secluded wooden cabin nestled deep within a quiet forest. It's a tradition that started when I was a kid, an escape from the city into a simpler world. The cabin has no phone signal, no internet, and no distractions, just birdsong, the scent of pine needles, and the rustling wind through the trees. It's a peaceful, almost sacred place where we'd cook over fire pits, play card games, and sleep with the windows open to the sounds of nature. But that year, everything changed. On the second afternoon of our stay, after a big lunch, my cousin Kevin and I decided to explore the forest behind the house. We'd done it dozens of times before, taking little trails and pretending to be explorers. This time, though, the forest felt different. There was something off in the air. Maybe it was just the quiet, or the way the trees stood too still. The golden rays of late afternoon sunlight filtered through the branches, casting long shadows over the mossy ground. That's when we heard it, the sound of hammering, echoing faintly through the woods. It wasn't natural, it was rhythmic, deliberate, and distant. A slow thud, 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 heavy like wood meeting metal. We froze for a moment, looking at each other. "Probably someone building something," Kevin said, trying to sound casual. But I could tell he felt it too, that crawling unease. Still, curiosity pulled us in. We followed the sound, moving carefully, pushing past thick underbrush and stepping over twisted roots. The deeper we went, the more the sunlight struggled to break through the canopy above. The hammering grew louder, then suddenly stopped. That silence was worse. We came into a small clearing and stopped dead in our tracks. There, mounted high on the trunks of 3 ancient trees, were crucifixes hung upside down. Each was made from thick, raw beams, nailed together with darkened iron heads that glinted slightly in the low light. They looked fresh, as if someone had made them just hours ago. The air was thick with the smell of raw timber and something else, metallic, musty. Like rust. Or blood. My heart pounded. "We should go back," I whispered. Kevin nodded quickly. But before we could move, a deep voice rang out behind us. "You kids shouldn't be here." We spun around, startled. Standing a few feet away in the shadows was a tall man. He wore a plaid shirt, old jeans, and boots caked with mud. A thick beard covered most of his face, but not his eyes, those cold, guarded eyes, staring right through us. He looked like a lumberjack, but something about him felt wrong. He didn't move, didn't even blink. "We're sorry," Kevin stammered. "We got lost." The man didn't answer. He just stood there, watching us. That was all the permission we needed. We bolted, crashing through the underbrush all the way back to the cabin. Breathless and pale, we told the adults what we'd seen. Uncle John frowned deeply but didn't say much. "You two need to stop letting your imaginations run wild," he said. "There are hunters out here sometimes. Probably just someone setting up weird art or a bad joke." We didn't believe him. Neither did Aunt Linda, judging by the way she clutched her rosary that night at dinner. I couldn't sleep. Around 4 in the morning, I was jolted awake by flickering light seeping through the curtains. Thinking it was lightning, I pulled back the fabric and froze. At the edge of the forest, just beyond the tree line, stood dozens of figures. Each one held a lit torch. They were completely still, motionless silhouettes with flames illuminating their blank, expressionless faces. They didn't speak or move. They just stared, silently, toward the cabin. I stumbled backward and ran to wake Uncle John. He took one look out the window, and without a word, went to his bedroom and returned with his hunting rifle. Stepping outside onto the porch, he fired 2 warning shots into the sky. The cracks of the gun shattered the silence. The figures didn't flinch. But then, slowly, as if on cue, they turned in unison and melted back into the woods, torches disappearing one by one until nothing but blackness remained. No one slept after that. We stayed up, all of us, huddled in the living room, barely speaking. At sunrise, the family silently began packing their things. No one argued. No one made breakfast. It was as if we had all shared a nightmare but were too afraid to say it out loud. By midday, the cabin was locked up, and we drove away in tense silence. No laughter. No goodbyes. Just the crunch of tires on gravel as we put distance between us and the trees. Since that day, no one in my family has ever mentioned what happened in the forest. Not at birthdays, not at holidays, not even when someone brought up the cabin. It just faded from conversation, like a wound everyone agreed not to touch. Uncle John still owns the place. He goes up once a year to check on it, but he never stays overnight. And he never invites anyone else to go with him. As for me, I still remember those upside-down crosses, weathered now, probably, but burned into my memory as fresh as the day we found them. I still see the man's eyes in my dreams, and sometimes, late at night, I wonder what might have happened if we had stayed a little longer. Or if we had gotten there a little too late. Some places hold on to secrets. And some secrets hold on to you.